New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
Good morning and welcome back to Growing Edge Live. I'm Allie Benjamin, your host, and it is my great pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to today's episode because we're doing something a little different. And so I am going to be interviewed by my beloved, my best friend, Diana. Diana is someone that I met a few years ago. We met there she is. We met in a training program that we were both in. It was an Enneagram teaching, coaching program. What was the name of it? Do you remember?
No, but it was a certification program. It was a year one,
Yeah, it was a certification program, and we both did a deep dive. We traveled all over the country with our teacher and our other classmates, and we really got to know each other well. And if you know anything about the Enneagram, you'll know that that's a deep dive into understanding the human condition. So we had to do some pretty deep diving, and we got to know each other and really found so much in common. And we decided to work together and meet every week to discuss ideas of things we might want to do together. Now, Diana, she'll share a little bit about her background. And it finds out the more we got to know each other, the more we found we had so many things in common. And I'm sure we'll get to all of that. But I want to say before we dive in, I'm so glad that you've found this episode today, whether you're new, have never come across this Growing Edge Live, or you're back because you love hearing the conversations I have with soul-centered individuals. We talk about their life and what they're doing and how they organize their energy, their creativity, their resources into doing good work in the world. And so that's what we offer every week, a different conversation with a different person. And thanks to the New Thought Media Network, who produces this show, and thanks to the Satya Center, who sponsors this show. And so today we're going to have another deep dive, a growing edge conversation, but we're doing it a little differently. So Diana, why don't you share a little bit about you, and then we'll go into you being the host.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm Diana Soroka. I'm a lifelong learner and educator turned storyteller, life coach, and an Enneagram practitioner. I teach self-awareness, practical self-awareness, using the Enneagram so that real people can handle life with more courage, more confidence, more clarity, which is very important, and in this world, more kindness. Every week I write personal blogs, I tell my stories, I host Wild Hearts conversations where I tell my own stories and my members tell their stories in the hopes that we can help someone else heal their lives. So we're telling our healing stories in the hopes that it will help others. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
That's beautiful. Well, I love the work you do. And I'm so glad to be having this new series of conversations with you here on Going Edge Live.
So I'm really happy to be here, Ollie, and I want to make this as fun and personal as possible while we get to learn, all of us, about Allison Benjamin. So are you ready to get started?
I am. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I didn't
Okay.
prepare, but I'm prepared for whatever happens.
Okay, so we're going to learn a little bit more about Allie, and in particular, how a certain idea came about many years ago. So I'm going to jump right into that. Uh, we're going to start with her wings, how her wings showed up. So her wings appeared when wasn't just an art idea. It was a compulsion. It was a need for Allie. And I know that because we've had the discussions. So Allie, do you remember the exact time period when you knew you had to create that first piece?
Yeah, well, it goes back a long time. I've been drawing and painting and doodling and creating things my whole life. It's been such a big part of who I am ever since I was a child. And so that's been something that has evolved over the years. About, gosh, I think it was in the late 90s, I started drawing the goddess figure. And this was a female form. She didn't have any wings at that point, but I just couldn't stop drawing and doodling and creating these figures of women. And so the more I did it, it seemed like new conversations started to happen. I started meeting new women in my life. And at that particular time, I was leading a group, and it was called Stepping Stones for Conscious Living. And it was a part of a program I was in, practitioner training for science of mind, a new thought movement. And so my final project for this 4-year training was to create something that really represented who I am and represented the spiritual principles that I was learning about in New Thought or Science of Mind. And so I started this group, Stepping Stones, and I'd have people come to my house every week for about, I don't know, a year. And then this one time, there was only women. And we were talking about, in the discussion, we were talking about what gets in our way, what trips us up, what do we struggle with, and how do we get through those tough times. And out of that, this group of women started to grow. And we created something called Women of Wisdom. And this was back in the late 90s. And we put on a women's retreat. And it went on for several years. And it was a long weekend. It was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so women would get together. We had, I think, like 40 different presenters and workshops, and it was overnight, and there were vendors, and there were outdoor like ropes courses. And I mean, it was like a really big thing.
Yeah.
And so I met a lot of people over that time. We had the vagina monologues come up from LA and come and speak. We had some like really shamans come and do soul retrieval. Anyway, I ended up, that was in Big Bear Lake in Southern California. And I ended up moving from Big Bear to Utah. And it was during that time that I had to step away from that group. But they had invited me to do artwork for the annual retreat. And so I created these goddess figures to support this movement of Women of Wisdom. And so that just opened up this. I would go to farmers markets selling little wire goddesses with beads, and I would draw little greeting cards. And eventually when I got to Utah, it really expanded. I stopped just drawing them with colored pencils and started painting them. And so that happened for several years. Gosh, I think 15 years. I was painting the goddess with no wings, but I started doing gallery shows and actually framing my art, creating giclées and prints, and my art's been sold around the world, and mostly in this country and in England, but I know it's gone to a few other countries. And so I also started writing poetry at that time to go along with the goddess figure. And she was all about, it was, as I look back now, it's been 25 plus years, it was really me painting myself and women and what we stood for and what difficulties we have and how we transcend those. So that's kind of where it got started. And you can hear, because there's so much story here, that it really is a big thing that's been around in my consciousness and in my world for so long. And it painting her, drawing her has been such a source of connection with the divine. It's been a source of comfort. It's been something I've shared with the women in my life, my granddaughters, my daughter. And during COVID, the lockdown, my husband and I were living in Big Bear Lake again. We were sharing our time between Utah and Big Bear Lake. And I was the senior spiritual director of 2 centers, one in Big Bear and one here. And so I'd go back every month. And I was also, we had lost our son, Adam, just around this same time in 2018, just 2 years before COVID, while I was going back and forth. And so I found that working with my painting, my goddess images, really felt I connected with Adam. And it was during that time, during the lockdown, during my grief journey, that all of a sudden her wings appeared. And my goddess, I started drawing wings on. And that was, it felt like something that was always there and a part of her, but I hadn't actually painted them. And so when I did start painting, this whole deeper teaching or deeper feeling or greater self-awareness or expanded consciousness started to develop for me in what this work was in regards to working with women, painting women, writing poetry. I was also doing workshops to bring other women into painting their own inner goddess. And so it took on a new dimension because the wings represented a huge shift in consciousness for me. And so I'll probably stop there for a minute because I know I've shared a lot. And I just one more thing. I don't think I really understood what the wings represented till I met Diana. I was getting an idea of what they were and what they represented, but I didn't know how to, I thought maybe it was just for me, a thought that I was having, but I didn't know how I could really express this idea, these principles of transcendence or rising above or developing a part of yourself that would free yourself, until Diana and I had a couple of years worth of conversations about what we might want to do together. And then so that's where I want to stop and let you take us where you want to take us.
Well, that was a lot of information. There's so much to talk about. And I mean, first of all, your experience working with people when they're in those hard, challenging moments is immense. And that's a quality and a skill that you have that I admire and look to with with. I'm honored to be your friend and colleague to learn about this a lot more than I have. But let's talk a little bit more about your personal journey through this, because what I'm getting and what I know is that this is deeply personal to you. You're talking about what you did with others and you touch on yourself. This was very personal. Your goddess is part of your heart and soul. And so I want to go a little deeper with that. Like you touched on it. You said, you said that you were going through some things at times. And when you look back at that whole process and where this was coming from, we know that it was coming from your life experiences. We've heard that there were some very, very hard times. And you also touched on the divine coming through. Tell me a little bit more about, what you were walking through that nudged those wings a little bit. Let us get to know that heart of Allie and where this came from.
All right. I knew that our conversation was going to go deep because you and I both like to go deep. And so I'm like, okay, Diana, here we go. Well, I think, over the course of our lifetime, we have moments that we remember that stick out, that even way back in childhood. And, I know because I've asked my own clients, like, what were some memorable times that really influenced you over the course of your lifetime? And people generally offer two things: struggles and great delights or moments of great joy. And so I know that those times of great struggle and great joy are the things that help us feel like we're growing or that we're healing. And so I think of those times in my own life, and that's what I'm kind of linking these moments that my wings appeared, so to speak. And so for me, my first big moment when like something like huge happened, like, was when I was 5 years old. I always had this feeling prior to that and after that somehow I didn't fit in to this world. I felt like maybe I'd landed on the wrong planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe I, did have wings before that because I had, landed here. No, but when I was little, I really had that sense that I didn't quite fit into my family and I didn't quite fit into the people around me. I felt different. And I had this experience once when I was in a really stressful situation. My mother and father had separated. I was 5 years old. And I remember being so scared that I was never going to see my mother again because she was moving from England, where I was, and she had fallen in love with someone and was moving to America to get married. And so I felt like she was leaving me, and I felt really scared and didn't know who was going to really take care of me or where I would really belong. I had my dad, and he'd always been there for me. So I knew that, but we weren't that close. He wasn't very emotional or open. And so and neither was my mother really, but somehow I felt like I fit or belonged with those two. Anyway, I had a moment. We were at a friend's house and we were staying, and my mother had already moved out and she'd come back from America, and I was visiting her at this friend's house that we were staying at. And I had this weird, strange experience. It was almost like I was taken to a different reality.
Wow.
I was on the bed and I wasn't asleep, but I went into this expanded place of, and I think that's a moment when my wings appeared. And so it wasn't like I grew wings or anything like that, but there was a mystical feeling, like oh my gosh, I'm experiencing something greater than I usually do. This isn't like the phenomenal world experience.
Yes.
This is like a kind of a, I don't know, like a mystical experience. And there were visual things, like it almost looked like I was, when you look through the Hubble telescope and see those images of supernovas or whatever it is they're looking at, there's this like phenomenal, colorful experience of being out in space. That's how it felt and looked like. But there was something deeper that comforted me, that said, without a voice or without words, there was this great knowing that everything was going to be okay, that I was going to be okay. That, I mean, it's hard to put words to that experience. It was more of a feeling. But over the years, it's kind of kept informing me, or I've deepened into what that experience was. And so that's kind of the first big event that sort of set me on my life path. I've always been seeking that mystical experience again. And there have been those times, and won't talk about those right now, but that has been sort of the foundation of why I think I'm here, to have that deeper oneness, unity experience with the divine. And that's how I see that. It was a moment when I felt what God is, maybe. I don't even use that word very often, but it was an experience of seeing behind the curtain, or behind the veil, or into the mystery. And it told me that life is so much more than what we see here. And so I've been after that deeper experience, that expanded experience ever since. And I've made a lot of choices in my life, as far as the books I've read, the studies I've done to become a minister, have a doctorate in consciousness studies. I've always been driven to support other people. I have a deep capacity to hold people in their grief and in their spiritual growth. And that's how I've developed my life. Now, these types of things give me a sense of having wings, or having this elevated state of consciousness. But what I know is the big challenges in my life have been where I have felt those wings most profoundly. I think the first one was in my first marriage. My husband was a real severe addict, and that was a life of great struggle. We had 3 children together, and he was always getting into trouble. He was always unreliable. He would be gone away for long periods of time. And that was so difficult. And it really touched on that abandonment wound from my mother leaving me when I was young. And so there's been significant times where I felt these core wounds of abandonment, or not feeling like I belong, not feeling safe in the world, that have given me this inner strength to dig deep, to find my courage, to feel more capable, sort of access greater intuition. There was another time when my son got ill, Christopher, when he was 10 years old, and we were told that he wouldn't make it. And that was another key point where I found my wings. It was a tremendously scary time to be told your child will die. He had a 19.5-inch spinal cord tumor. And the effect that had on our family of potentially losing your child to something that was so, there was no real cause to it. It just sort of came out of the blue. And he was 10, my daughter was 12, and my son Adam was 13 at the time. And it was just really hard. He was in the hospital for 2 years. And I would say that period of 2 years, we got through it as a family. Christopher survived. It was miracle after miracle after miracle. We flew all over the country finding just the right doctors. And so there was a lot of things that occurred that were, I would say, miraculous. But the growth that we did as a family and the strength that we got from our spiritual community during that time was phenomenal. And I really tie that in to this whole journey of personal growth, of meeting the moment with knowing certain principles, like the law of cause and effect. There's so many things that helped us get through that. And that's what I share with people, with clients. And this whole movement of Her Wings Appeared is how to rise up, how to meet the moment when the rug gets pulled out, when things go terribly wrong. And so there's been other times that have, promoted this feeling of expansion, of being able to rise above. But those, I think, for now, are two that really helped me, helped my family, helped us heal, helped us find the support we needed, and helped us turn every challenge into a growth opportunity, turn everything into something that really, as I think of it now, I feel like we've always, as a family, been able to move through things, even the hardest of things, with a great deal of faith and trust and confidence. And so I think the wings really represent to me qualities that we have, all of us have, that maybe we don't have constant, steady access to because we lose sight. But when we come to an edge, that's when our wings appear. Yes. And that's really the story.
Yeah, and I love that story, and I was wondering about the wings. We don't always, our wings are not always out.
No.
And so if you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not a goddess with wings, I do this, I mess up all the time, I make some wrong decisions, that does not mean that you don't have wings. Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we are right at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a really short break, and then Diana and I are going to come back and talk about, when the wings aren't there, how does it feel, and what do we do?
Yes.
Okay. See you in a minute.
All right. We'll see you in a minute.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
And we're back. Okay, Diana, it's all up to you.
Okay, so we know a little bit about your life and how the wings develop and how you became aware of your wings. We know that every woman, every goddess woman has wings, but oftentimes they're not aware of them. So, and a lot of times we don't think we have wings because we're not what we expect of ourselves, or we see we're not perfect human beings. So I was thinking, you pastored a community, you know how to sit with grief, with joy, and all the messy middles in between. When big feelings rise up for you, and you go to that place that we all go sometimes. How do you get through? How do you get through? And also, I want you to tie that into helping others know, because a lot of times I bet when you were going through some of those things, you didn't realize that your wings were up until you look back later. So maybe just talk about like we don't always have our wings. I mean, there's sometimes I want to fall down on the floor and kick and scream like a toddler, but, and and maybe I do some other things that nowadays. It's kind of hard to throw myself down these days and get back up. But we have this awareness now. Will you kind of speak to all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have had so many struggles in my life. And I mean, I've dealt with the abandonment issues, not feeling good enough, feeling like I was different, like I didn't belong. And that sort of stirred up feelings of, unhealthy habits and things I did, like people pleasing and thinking that my worth, I didn't have my own sense of self-worth, that I was seeking approval of others. I can see so many times where I would, back long ago, I would overuse alcohol because I was, just so depressed or wanting to escape situations that I would, do things that I'm not proud of now. There's so many things that get in the way of us feeling our wings or understanding who we really are or finding a way out of those dark times. And so it's been a constant. I'm 63 now, and I can say I have had just as many low points, down points, as I have had high points. Probably more lows, actually, as I think back on it now, than I have high. And I find this to be true with many of the people I sit with. I have a coaching business, and I see both men and women. And people generally come to see me because they're struggling with a loss. As a minister, I do sit with a lot of people that are dealing with grief, loss, divorce, bankruptcies, or loss of a job. And so when people are in that place of desperation, I sit with them. I sit with couples that are having challenges getting along with each other because they do they have big feelings and get angry at each other and don't know how to communicate. So I help them with things like that. So that all of these things that I've experienced in my own life, in my own relationship with my husband, Michael, we've been married for 28 years. And we were just talking yesterday. There were a couple of times that we almost decided to separate, to go separate ways, because we were so frustrated with each other and couldn't see a way forward. And so most people struggle with big things, with little things like self-confidence or aging or, retirement, empty nest when the kids leave. There's moments where we feel really sad and we might turn to alcohol or other addictive behaviors, shopping, overspending, gambling, sex. I mean, there's so many ways that we can try and escape our heavy, big feelings. And this is so common. But when we look at social media, especially social media, we look at our friends, our followers, our, people that we see that come across our feed, and it's usually all the good stuff. We see their happy life with their happy family, with all the fun things they're doing, and it creates a feeling of, why isn't my life like that? What is it with me? What about me doesn't allow me to have that? And so a lot of people are comparing. A lot of people see what's missing in their lives due to the social media. But what I know, because I sit with people a lot, that everyone is feeling the sting of not having the kind of relationship they want with their spouse or their partner or their their children, or that maybe the work they did their whole life is now they're not physically able to do it. And so they're looking to recreate themselves and find a new career, or maybe they're not even looking for a career anymore. They're looking for a way to feel relevant or meaningful. And so they're looking for, how can I reorganize myself and my life? I remember I worked with a group of 90-year-olds, a group of women that had known each other since high school, and they were in their 90s. And I did a workshop with them, and it was to support them in finding their voice now, so that they could look back over their life and reflect and create a living legacy, a story, a new story for themselves that helped them see all the connections they've made over their lifetime, all of the joy and all of the sadness and all of the ups and downs that made their life so rich and beautiful, like a tapestry. And so all of us have struggles, but what I know is all of us have the ability to find that inner strength and confidence, to find a way forward, to overcome feelings of sadness and depression, and to let go of some of the limiting beliefs and mindsets that maybe we're unconscious of, that have kept us stuck playing roles that aren't even ours, playing small, playing the victim. And that's what the work that Diana and I are doing. We are having discussions with women, well, with all people. We're having discussions with people that have overcome, that have found a way forward through a difficult situation, or overcome a personal challenge, or experienced some huge radical shift in consciousness that allows them to find a peaceful path forward that they feel like they belong in, that they are excited about, that, and when this happens, this is like a wings appeared moment. When that happens, when we have a shift in perspective, when we see that there's a new path forward, when we get excited, when that's those elevated feelings and emotions and qualities accompany the wings. And so it's what we're doing is we're creating art and poetry and stories and books and all manner of things, a community to support each other in maintaining this elevated state where we feel like we're together, we're not alone. We've got a group, we've got a community where we feel seen and heard, and we feel inspired, and we feel like an artist has a muse, something that stokes those creative passions and energies. And that's what this community, that's what this Her Wings Appeared offers to anyone that wants to join us. And we're just at the very green growing edge of this. And so that's, I think, really important to understand that we all struggle. We all have moments of feeling lost, of self-loathing, of not knowing how to get out of a difficult situation, feeling trapped, feeling misunderstood. And we all have the ability to see this for what it is and not settle for it, but to move beyond it, to rise out of it. And that's what Her Wings Appeared means and is becoming.
So, Allie, finish this sentence for me. My wings appeared when what is this for you today?
Today? Well, I thought back to, we lost my son, Adam, in 2018. And this morning when I was on my walk, I was thinking about this. When did my wings appear? And how did my wings appear when I was in grief? And is that even possible for you to have wings when you're grieving? And as I asked my higher self, my essence today when I was walking, it was a big, bold yes. I had wings when I was grieving. And what I realize now about grief is that we don't move beyond grief. We move forward, we move upward in our lives, in our consciousness, in our evolution with our grief. The grief that we hold for someone that we've lost is evidence that we loved. And so, yes, today I can say with confidence, and sometimes with tears, that my wings appear when I'm grieving. My wings appear when I'm feeling that rush of energy when I think of a new art project I want to paint. My wings appear then. My wings appear when, even now, what used to happen when I would be confronted with a difficult conversation with my daughter or my husband or my mother or my sisters or anyone that's close to me, I used to feel like frozen. Like, I can't have this conversation. I don't know what to say here. I feel like this shriveling of my wings because they pointed a finger at me, or they accused me of something, or they were asking something that I wasn't willing to give. All of those times have given me that feeling of my wings shrinking. Well, today I can sit in the fire, so to speak. I can lean into having a tougher conversation with my mother, my sister, my friend, my husband, my kids, my grandkids, and feel a sense of, I'm okay. It's not the end of the world here. Me saying, saying no gives me that feeling that my wings are here. Like, it doesn't make them feel like they've disappeared. It makes me feel more confident to sit in those moments where that little part of me, that fearful, wounded child part of me, feels like she doesn't have any wings and she's stuck. That's changed. That has changed. Now I feel more present. I feel more okay. And nothing looks different on the outside. It's all this inner feeling of wings, of strength.
So it sounds like when you have those hard conversations, and you're saying no, it's because you're standing in your truth.
Yes.
You're being true to yourself, not just saying no to someone. It's this honest, pure essence of who you are is being communicated to another, and not being held back because you're fearful of what your words might do.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that is powerful stuff there for sure. Very powerful. I wanted to, before we get off of here, I have to bring in the Enneagram because that is a big part of how we center ourselves and know ourselves. It's been a connection for us to help us understand ourselves, each other, and everybody else in our world. So, I know you use the Enneagram as a tool in your coaching, and without typing anyone else, I want you to. I want to know, how did seeing your own patterns shift your own creative healing? So, what changed, like in your art, once you noticed, your stress habits and your strengths more clearly?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did it affect your creativity?
Yeah. So, well, within the Enneagram, there's nine different types, and I'm a type 4. I lead with a type 4, and type 4s can be really experience a lot of sadness and misunderstanding, and we struggle with this feeling of discontent, like there's something missing, and that maybe the grass is greener elsewhere, that those people over there, they seem to have more fun or more joy, or they've got better relationships, or I don't know, they've figured it out somehow. Well, this was all going on. First of all, I did not think I was a type 4. I didn't think I had this issue. I didn't think that I had felt like something was missing. But the more I got into it, I realized that that's a theme. That really is a theme that shows up for me again and again, this feeling of discontent.
Yeah.
And so once I read this in these books, it was like, oh my gosh, these people, they have somehow figured me out, and there it's on a page for lots of other people just like me that struggle with these same issues. And this seems to happen with all 9 Enneagram types. It becomes very clear that there's certain patterns that we struggle with. And so once I figured out, okay, I'm going to admit to myself, I do have this feeling like there's something missing. And what that did was keep me in this place of waiting for something better. Like I got addicted or habituated to thinking I needed something better or something more or something that was missing in order to feel okay, in order to feel like I'd found myself, or I'm living my best life, or like it was this constant like on edge feeling that I was missing something. So once I saw this and started working with it, and a lot of the way I do my spiritual practice, I meditate every day, I go for a walk every day, I paint every day. And so these are the ways I connect with that deeper part of me, that God part of me, my essential self. And those things shifted. My walks became more delightful. Like I would like see more beauty as I was walking outside. I would feel like more connected to my environment. I would enjoy my meditations more. I had less like busy monkey mind and more like clear, peaceful moments of omnipresence or deep connection with God, with life. And then in my arts, that's when her wings appeared, because I stopped this pattern of feeling like there was something missing.
Yes, I love that, because it's like this tool is an objective way of looking at oneself and just reviewing and being aware. And it's not threatening. It's just, check this out. And nobody else knows but you. You're just looking at yourself. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
All right. So I wanted to just ask you, you brought up that we're going to do a project together in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's not completely formed, but we are actively working on it, and we're going to make a big announcement, probably in the new year. But we just wanted to let you know that we're going to be here every week working on it. And before I go on to my final questions for Allie, I wanted to just say that I'm very excited for it. I know that we are 2 very different personalities. We get along great. We question one another, and I am so looking forward to working with you, Allie. And I know that whatever we create together is going to be amazing. So now let me go on to my kind of a lightning round with you, if that's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
We've got 3 minutes, I think. So we've got
okay.
time.
All right. A song that you put on to remember who you are.
A song that I put on. Well, I love that song, This Girl Is on Fire.
Oh, yes, that is fun. Yes. one phrase before you step up on a platform to speak or to pick up your paintbrush or do anything creative.
A phrase?
One thing, yes, or something that you say to
Yeah,
yourself.
I say I am present, grounded, and in tune with my inner wisdom. My heart is open to the ease and flow of love. My mind is peaceful and clear, and I take inspired action for my highest good and the highest good of all.
You are amazing. A grandmother lesson that you still follow. A grandmother type of lesson that you still follow.
Wow. My grandmothers have been gone for a long time. I think as I think back to both Hilda and Nellie, those are my grandmothers.
Sound like grandmother names.
And they loved me so unconditionally.
Oh.
And that's what I want to bring to my granddaughters, that unconditional love. I have to bite my tongue because I don't want to parent my grandchildren. I want to just be the presence of unconditional love.
All right. And our final, a small act of beauty that you noticed this very morning.
A small act of beauty. Well, I was walking down the path towards, I go for a 3-mile walk, and I looked out in front of me and there was the theme park lagoon. And right in front of the path, there was about 12 turkeys.
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking, and they were there a couple of weeks ago too. And I was thinking, okay, you better run because it's Thanksgiving and they're coming to get you. But then I thought, the turkey is in the Native American tradition, represents Thanksgiving and gratitude. And I took a moment just to count my blessings and feel so blessed.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I really appreciate being here today and getting to ask you some questions and listen to your story of life. It's just, it's intriguing. And I love your honesty and your wisdom. Yeah.
Thank you, Diana. It's been really fun. It's been a little scary, but really fun having this conversation. I'll interview you next time. I think we'll do it that way.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your love. Thank you for donating to the Satya Center and making this podcast possible. And thank you to New Thought Media Network. And we'll see you next week here at The Growing Edge. Mwah. Bye.
Thank you.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge.